call this meeting to order, please. Roll call.
Smith.
Here. 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 Here.
Here, our invocation and pledge will be led by our city attorney, David Connor. If you please rise.
Father, we thank you for everything you give us, and we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the opportunity to be here in this great community, in this great state, in this great country. And Father, we ask that you bless each person that's a leader here, that you give them wisdom to make the decisions that are right for this community. And we thank you for each citizen, employee, and participant that's here tonight as well, that care about this community and come out. And Father, we ask that you bless them in this city as well. And Father, we thank you for loving us. We thank you for caring for us, and we thank you for those people that protect our freedoms and protect us in this city and around the world. And Father, we just ask that whatever be done here tonight, that it will bring glory and honor to you and be for the good of this community. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Ask for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, work session February 3, 2025, and the regular meeting on February 3rd, 2025. Are there any corrections?
I think Ms. Gaines is going to add the moment of silence for Mr. Davis.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other corrections? Committee reports, Ms. Gaines?
No report, sir.
Mr. Connor?
No further reports, Mayor.
Chief Barber?
No report, Mayor.
Shannon?
No report.
Y'all doing great. Casey?
No report, Mayor.
Planning Commission? Mr. Smith?
I'm going to break the trend here. I'm going to give you a report. Yes, sir. Planning Commission met on February 10th, and only one item to report on. As we'll see in our agenda later today, later during this meeting, we did forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for rezoning Lot 6D in the Eastern Shore Center from B3 to B5.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Gutherson, you have anything from Junior Council?
Junior Council, actually, yeah, we've been pretty active. On February 10th, the students met with Senator, actually Representative Matt Simpson, and coming up on March 10th, we'll be meeting with Senator Figures, and then obviously taking them off to Montgomery to learn more about state government after that point. But coming up, one of the things, and I think you're going to hit this on the announcements later on, but the Safety Day with USA Health will be on April 5th, and I'll be participating on that. They are going to be doing a Jimmy Faulkner cleanup on March 22nd from 9 a.m. to 12 noon, and they are literally out there looking for volunteers at this point. So a really good community opportunity. Typically, it doesn't take very long. I think we're talking about from 9 to 12, and most people won't even last that long. So anyway, you check in at the high school on the morning of the 22nd, and they'll assign you to a zone, give you a bag, and go out there and just pick up trash and make the city look good. So anyway, very active on the Junior Council.
Thank you, Carl. Ms. Brabner, School Commission.
Yes, we'll continue again tonight with another video about the good things that are happening with our 3 meal tax money.
I'm Michelle Bolton. I'm the local reading specialist at Stonebridge. And the 3 meal money has really been beneficial in helping fund our part-time instructors. So the part-time instructors really have several different roles. They pull out students who are struggling, and they help to fill those deficits that we see with their reading. They've all been trained using programs that are for students with dyslexic-like tendencies. So they really can help fill those gaps for those struggling students, and it takes a little bit off of the teacher. They also, this year, we're trying something a little different. They push into classrooms, and they're able to help with small group or help students with independent work, just giving the teachers a little extra support in the classroom as well. trying to meet the needs of all of our students. And then something we started last year that was really welcomed by the teachers and the students, and the PTIs love it also, is they're helping with doing some reading enrichment for some of our high-performing students. So they pull those students and they do book clubs. They read different books and do different activities with them. So we've really been lucky to have them. They work with students in grades K through 6. They do reading and math, and they really have been able to help in any capacity that we feel we need them. So we've also been able to use the funding to purchase materials that the part-time instructors can use with our students. We know how important reading is, so they use a lot of different manipulatives to help students learn how to build words, learning about letter names and sounds. Decodable text is really important for students to be able to practice those phonics skills that they're learning. So we've been able to purchase some extra materials to help the students benefit and practice in their reading. 3 Meal Matters.
Just a reminder, the 3-meal tax money is money that we all voted on, and when I say we, it's every household, every voter within our Spanish Fort High School feeder zone. So we have Spanish Fort residents, we have people who live in the city of Daphne that are part of this, and we have people who live in the county that also contribute to this money. And this is money that goes above and beyond what the school board budgets for them. We have watched the money, and it is not being substituted by the school board because they knew they were getting our money. This is totally the gravy on top. We do have another meeting. Our next meeting of the 3-meal committee is on the 20th, which is this week, I think on Wednesday, Thursday, I can't count. Thursday, and I can't remember where the location is, but if you need more information, you can check with us here at City Hall. But yes, 3-meal does matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, and of course, very proud of the schools, all A's for all of our schools. That's a wonderful accomplishment. And remind everyone that the 3 meals is strictly for academic and arts, no athletics, anything like that, so the money is well spent. We'll open up the floor for public participation. We will have some public hearings during the agenda tonight, so this is not for that. If you're here to speak on Honor Park or rezoning or those kind of things, this is not. This is just for anything else you'd like to address with the council. The podium's open. If you please give us your name and address. Under announcements, the Spanish Fort Community Center, Spanish Fort Public Library, and the Senior Center will be closed Tuesday, March 4th to celebrate Mardi Gras holiday. The Spanish Fort Public Library and the USA Health are hosting a safety day here at Spanish Fort Community Center. The event will be held April 5th from 1 to 4 p.m. The event will be free. There'll be a number of vendors, presentations on health and safety topics, including car seat safety, pediatric mental health, child safety, free cardiac screening for kids, boating and life jacket safety, ambulance, police, and fire vehicle for tours, and lots more. So I think as of right now, there's like 28 vendors that will be here. It is a free event, so we encourage you to attend. Under old business, there is none. Under new business, we will have a public hearing on ordinance number 695, 2025, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5196 of the city of Spanish Fort. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this is a proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance, adding section 7.13 to the special provisions section of the ordinance to provide restrictions on storage shed sales and the display of storage sheds, and also to allow an amendment to the table of permitted uses to allow such uses of storage shed sales and display of storage sheds within B3 and B4 with Planning Commission approval, and zoning district M1 by right. This would set forth requirements that requires a minimum of a half-acre piece of property for the display of storage sheds, and on a half-acre you can have up to 8 storage sheds for display. And then there's an allowance based on the size of the property for up to a maximum total of 16 storage sheds to be allowed on the site. In addition, there are access requirements that require access to the site, paving widths for access and curb cuts, and also limitations that the onloading and offloading of the storage sheds have to be on site and cannot be in a public right-of-way, and there can be no manufacturer of these buildings on the site, therefore display and sale only.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Any discussion from the council before I open the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll open up the public hearing. Once again, please give us your name and address. This is the public hearing on ordinance number 695, 2025. Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. Do I have any discussion from the council? Do I have a motion?
I move to approve ordinance 695-2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Smith,
Yes.
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Wynn, Brabner,
Yes.
Yes, ordinance number 695 is adopted. We'll have a public hearing on ordinance number 696, 2025, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5196 of the City of Spanish Fort, changing the zoning classification of certain property located at 10284 U.S. Highway 31, Spanish Fort, Alabama, from R1 to B1. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this is a request from the property owner to rezone this property from R1 Single Family Residential District to B1 Professional Business District. This property came into the corporate limits of the City of Spanish Fort previously under annexations by local legislative act, if I'm not mistaken. The property is described in Exhibit A, or Exhibit 1 to the proposed ordinance, and a map showing the location of the property is attached to Exhibit 2. It's across the street from Rockwell Elementary School and just west of the Marathon Station, which is now called MAPCO, on that site. And the Planning Commission forwards a positive recommendation for this rezoning request.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Discussion from the council? Hearing none, I'll open up the public hearing for ordinance number 696, 2025. Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is now closed. Discussion from the council? Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt ordinance 696, 2025.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Smith,
Yes.
Gustafson, Perry,
Yes.
Wynn, Brabner,
Recuse.
Yes, the ordinance is adopted. I'd like to present ordinance number 699, 2025, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5196 of the City of Spanish Fort, changing the zoning classification of certain property described as Lot 6D, Eastern Shore Center Plaza, Phase 4, Spanish Fort, Alabama, from B3 to B5. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this property is located at the Eastern Shore Center. It is just south of the movie theater and across the Eastern Shore Drive from the bowling alley and retention pond area there, located at the Eastern Shore Center. The property owner has requested that the property be rezoned from B3 to B5 to allow for the construction and use of a hotel on that site. This property was previously rezoned for a hotel use, but the time frame for imposing or using that property expired. They have now informed the staff that they are ready to come forward with a site plan and have requested that the property be rezoned again to allow for that use in construction.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Discussion from the council? I'd like to announce that we have a public hearing on ordinance number 699, Monday, March 3rd, to hear comments from those in favor or opposed to the proposed ordinance. We'll have a public hearing on Resolution 1480, 2025, a resolution approving the conceptual Honor Park Master Plan. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, the City Council retain the services of Thompson Engineering to assist in the preparation of a conceptual plan for Honor Park. This was done with input from the City Council, the administration, the mayor, staff, as well as meetings with the community to receive input regarding proposed uses for that site. The engineering firm has prepared a conceptual master plan which is attached to this resolution, and subject to any comments made by the public and or comments made by the council, this resolution, if approved, would adopt the Honor Park conceptual master plan to provide guidance on the development of Phase 1 and future phases of Honor Park projects, subject to any changes or amendments approved by the City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Any discussion from the council? Hearing none, I'm going to open up the public hearing. Once again, please give us your name and address. You'll come forward. I would ask, if we could first, I'll have the representative from Thompson Engineering lay out the plan. It may answer some questions for you at the beginning of this. So, public hearing is now open.
Good evening, Christopher Grant, back to see you all again. Great seeing y'all. Just wanted to highlight a few things. I'm not going to go through our whole presentation again, but wanted to give some community feedback on the button. This is a Go Mesa property that was purchased several years ago by the city of Spanish Fort. We were tasked and delightfully tasked with creating an overall conceptual master plan. It's 142 acres on the east and west side of Highway 225. The city recently received $3 million of Go Mesa funding to develop what we're calling Phase 1, which will actually take place on the west side of Highway 225. We have some drawings off to the side which will highlight what's included within that $3 million phase. We were obviously tasked with the scope of developing the plan as well as some public engagement. The city appointed a steering committee of 8 individuals that helped us through this process, as well as all the city officials that were involved. With that was a survey, and I'm happy to announce that we received over 2,000 responses, which helped us develop the program for this property. Within those 2,000 responses, we received over 800 written comments, all of which were in favor. We did receive some that I've spoken with you about. We called applicable and non-applicable responses. For instance, this site doesn't need to be a Walmart or high-rise condominiums. First and foremost, it's a beautiful piece of property. It's got a half a mile of waterfront along Bay Minette Creek. The hardwoods in the west side of the site are beautiful. The topography range is 123 feet down to the bay, or to the creek. And then, so in determining the location for the program elements that were provided to us from the community and the steering committee, we decided that it would be best for the site to split it up between passive and active recreation. The west side is passive, which is really heavily focused on trails, outdoor classrooms, restroom pavilions, amenities for the public, very low impact development oriented. So when we develop a parking lot, we're not paving, we're placing gravel to help with pervious surfaces, stormwater runoff. We understand where our wetlands are. We've reviewed cultural resources that were conducted by South Alabama. We've looked to avoid the impacts to those areas. The east side will come at a much later date, but it's what we're deeming the active recreation portion. Will be focused around a large central open space. There will be a dog park, playground based on nature-based play. A lot of feedback we got was around an amphitheater as well as disc golf. So that will all take place on the east side as well, still implementing those low impact development techniques. The goal on the west side is to achieve about 2.5 miles worth of walking trails. The only vehicular traffic will stay in that parking area along Highway 225 down to a kayak canoe launch on Bay Minette Creek, and everything else will be walking trails throughout. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'll allow the rest of the public to speak.
Any question for Mr. Grant? All right, thank you. Please come forward and give us your name and address. Speak button if you would. There you go.
All right, you got me now?
Got it.
I'm Danny Finch. I'm at 32210 State Highway 225. I am on the south side of the east side of 225 on the south side. My wife and I own the 8 acres there. Several concerns. I understand Thompson Engineering, this fellow here is talking about the west side being the biggest focus in the beginning of this, but I'm more concerned with the east side because my property runs completely the depth of this project. It proposes a lot of problems. Highway 225 is already, we have trouble already getting in our driveway. I don't hardly even let my wife check the mailbox because of it. So what's going to happen? Are we going to 3-lane, 4-lane? What are we going to do as far as traffic to get into this? And I'm sure that things will progress as this goes down the road, but I found out about this really 2 weeks ago. I'm a general contractor here in town and of 30 years, and just happened to see this on the Wednesday evening news. I knew all of this was going on, but I just did not realize this much was going to go on the east side. The amphitheater is a big concern to me. On a good clear night, sitting on the back porch, I can hear the dirt track in Stapleton. So what's going to happen here with this amphitheater that's right at my doorstep? Everybody around it involved, the Sikoras behind us, the Busbys on the other side of it, it's going to impact all of us. This is the beginning stages. First thought, I was very upset, and the first thing I want to do is put a for sale sign in front of my forever home that I just finished 4 years ago. That's how upset I am. Unbelievably upset about this, and I want y'all to put some thought into the people around this, the neighborhoods around this, the impact that it's going to make on all of us that's around this. There's going to be locked gates. Are we going to have riffraff just in and out of there all night? Are we going to be calling the police all the time? Are we going to have privacy fences that's going to go up along our, these are all things that I myself, and I'm sure the other, I'm not going to speak completely for them because I'm sure they got their own opinions, but there's a lot of factors that will need to go into this. It's one thing for all of this to hit on the west side of the road. That was going to be a great impact for us. We figured we would put up with it and put up with the traffic, but what's going to happen on the east side is detrimental to my life, period. And it's not what I moved to Spanish Fort to do. I'm born and raised in Mobile. I moved to Spanish Fort a little later in life, moved my businesses, everything over here. We have 4 businesses. I moved everything to Baldwin County. I don't even do anything in Mobile anymore. And so now what do? Pick up, start over, and move again? So very upsetting for me, very upsetting. So anyway, I appreciate your time, and hopefully you'll think about this.
Thank you, sir. And to let everybody know, we'll hear all the comments, and then the council can address concerns. We won't address it back and forth at the get-go. So you can come forward. Whoever wants to come next is fine.
And with you. I like his concerns too. Hey, y'all. Okay, so I'm Daniela Nielsen. I live at 55 Speckle Trail. And a couple things I want to address. First thing first. So, love the west side because it's peaceful. But where it says the boardwalk right there, there is a bald eagle nest. Has been for years. That boardwalk sits almost right in front of their tree.
There's actually multiple. There are multiple bald eagles' nests right there. And if you take your boat, Holly Morse, 52 speckled trout. So
So,
there are multiple nests in
So-
that area.
yeah, so that's a huge concern because we don't want them to relocate. It's actually a neighborhood staple. They fly all around, and I think, I mean, it's a beautiful nest. It's the big pine. If you're not sure where it's at, it's this beautiful pine, and they're there. So that's step one of my concern. I mean, if we could move that to where maybe move it farther to the right of what we're looking at, that would be great, because then it wouldn't impact the nest. That would be great. And then amphitheater, I'm on the same page. So I used to live in Cambron, and that track is like, the more Stonebridge got built, the more that track got louder and louder and louder. And I agree, the more they clear out of those trees, the louder it's gonna be. On top of that, the amphitheater, you know, what does that look like? That's another question I have, because are we looking at like something cute that is a guy and a guitar, or are we talking about like a band that's jamming out? Because again, that goes against our nature preserve on the west side if we're gonna terrorize all the wildlife on that side by having a jam band at the amphitheater every weekend. So that's a big concern of mine. On top of that, the noise, of course, the noise would be awful if the amphitheater every weekend is also having a jam band.
Well,
So that
and
would be awful.
to touch on that, how
Yeah.
does that affect the Bald and Golden Eagle Protection Act? Does that have anything to do with disturbance? Because, I mean, if there is bands, I mean, if this is an amphitheater that students are using for like field trips and it's just for like a classroom session, okay, but I mean, we've got food trucks and bands coming in a residential area? Like, that's insane. That is crazy, in my opinion.
And then on top of that too, we need to discuss what's gonna happen if Indian and Civil War artifacts are found. What are we gonna do to preserve those? What are we gonna do to maintain them? Like, I feel like that area, I mean, don't we already have a well? Which I like that still, because it can preserve artifacts. That cannot preserve artifacts. So I think that's a lot of digging, a lot of dirt moving, and I think we can lose a lot of historical things that make this area kind of what it is. I mean, it's Civil War grounds, it's Native American artifacts. So this has a lot of history compared to other parts of Spanish Fort. So that's something that's really also important to me, and I don't want to get overlooked. On top of that too, that bottom spot right there where it says connection to existing community. So that's my community. So what are we gonna do? Are we turning that into a towaway zone? Because I know when that parking lot gets full, they're gonna park right there. Or if they don't wanna come in that entrance and they wanna loop around the back way, they're gonna park right there.
Or
Sorry,
if
I'm not pointing at you.
If it's residents of Spanish Fort Estates who are like, I'm not gonna go out to 225 and go to the parking lot, I'll just head on down to Ben's Bluff and park right here or park on Speckled Trout, who cares? I can enter the trailhead right there, or the trail system. I mean, what do we do? And we all have kids who are riding bikes or playing, or, I mean, young drivers. That's gonna increase a lot of traffic just on that road in general.
Yeah, especially since it's a neighborhood. I mean, and there really are tons of kids that go up and down that road. And I think it's great, and I mean, for the benefit of the neighborhood, yes, that would be a nice little feature, but we need to figure out maybe we don't have that and just leave it as a cutoff, just let it curve there, because that's something that's concerning. Like, is the city gonna, if I call the police, are they gonna tow that car? Because we're gonna have to make a clear statement on, this is not a parking lot for you to go on the back entrance, to even drop off your canoe, because even if you look at it, if you're hauling a kayak all the way to the far end, that's a bit of a trek. You can take a straight shot right to the corner. So anyway, I'm just, I'm not the expert. Distance to me on maps aren't the best, but looking at it, I don't know, that seems like an easier cut through if I'm dropping off a kayak to the water. But hopefully all that'll get moved to the left for the bald eagles. I hope I'm making sense. On top of that, what is the city gonna do to maintain it? I think a lot about the container park. And Container Park used to be beautiful, and I know the city doesn't own that. Word on the street was the city was gonna buy that And all that stuff was gonna be at the container park. So I don't know, and that's the word on the street, so that's why I'm talking, that's why I'm asking. So, but my concern is, you know, Container Park was a great area, and it was beautiful in its heyday, but now it's this sad feature of what used to be this really family place, which I really thought could be sold as downtown Spanish Fort, because we never really have a downtown Spanish Fort. And I thought that could be built up beautifully. And if you add that down there, that would make sense. It's near the interstate, it's near, you know, the Container Park and food. So that's something I'd like to discuss, like the maintenance. Like, are we gonna, I know the city's gonna take care of it, but like he said, like, kids are gonna vandalize, kids are gonna come in the middle of the night. I just wanna make sure that if the greens are green, they stay green. They don't kind of become a forgotten thing like the Container Park. Then on top of that, sorry, there's so many questions. The connector, oh, and what's your timeline? I know we're starting this is the 3 million, but when is it supposed to start? And when is that supposed to start? What's our time frame? Because that's something I don't know. So those are my questions. And statements, I guess. All right, Holly, your turn.
Well, we touched on a few of mine. As far as the main entrance to the park, so if you look at connection to existing community and look to the left where the homes, where you see those homes, one of those is my home. So where does the park end? Is there going to be is there a buffer? Are people just gonna be able to wander through and look in my backyard? What are we looking at as far as that goes? Because for me, that is a big concern. I was in my backyard earlier, I took many pictures. It goes down, and then back where the red line is, it is on a hill, a little bit of an incline, and there are existing trails back there. You don't have to be on that hill to be able to see into our backyard. I mean, we built a pool, we like to have parties, we like to, have events. I don't want random strangers walking through, hiking, and being able to see what we're doing in our backyard. Super weird. At night, there's a security issue. Are people just going to be able to walk through the park? If it's just in a 24-hour entrance and exit, 24-hour access, can they just walk back there anytime they want? Do we need to what do we need to do? Is there going to be gates up? Are there going to be no trespassing signs? Like, what is the city going to do to make sure that there is a clear indication between private property and city park?
Are we gonna have park rangers there, kind of like way Blakely does? Just throwing that out there, hire somebody or several people. And then two, Thompson, right? Like, if you're making that trail, that's something that also concerns me. Like, this area is known for historic live oaks, especially during all the places. You're gonna run into quite a few there. What happens if one's in your way? Are you gonna demo it, or are we going around it? Because that's a big thing, because I'm gonna lose my mind if you cut down a 300-year-old historic oak to put a trail for people to walk around. You just walk around the tree. But anyway, that's a huge, huge hot spot for me. So yeah, that's another issue. I'm not looking at you like I'm yelling at you, I'm just asking. So that's another hot spot that I think is important to preserve the beauty of that whole area.
And then traffic on 225, like that gentleman mentioned, it already sucks. So even the entrance into Spanish Fort Estates, are you guys gonna widen the road on 225? Are we gonna have turn lanes? The entrance to the park is literally right past Spanish Fort Estates. So that's one of the biggest neighborhoods in Spanish Fort. Traffic is going to be an issue. So that, all questions.
And we could just completely annex that whole right side and just put more trails, theoretically, and do a crosswalk. I don't know, I think it'd also be cheaper for the city, and maintenance could be easier for the city as well, if that's a concern.
Move the disc golf course, playground, everything over to the fort.
Yes, I think you should buy the container park and
Which,
put everything
I'm
there.
pretty sure, Mr. McMillan, you did tell us that the city was buying the fort. At some point, at the Saraland football game.
We just took it over.
So we have a plan.
disc golf, all of that is an amazing place.
But it didn't include, it didn't include the container park.
We'll talk about it later. But yeah, that's really all of my concerns. And then, and I've never done this before, so how does this work? So we ask the questions and if they're-
We'll listen to all the comments and then we'll respond.
Perfect, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
I like the idea of the park, the walking trails next to the river. Again, as long as you're not cutting down beautiful, beautiful trees older than all of us here put together. Spanish Fort has a park behind Bass Pro Shop. It's got a giant area for concerts. I've only seen one concert there. So we're building another place that might have concerts. There's no need for the amphitheater. I like the outdoor classroom. That's great. But what about the park that already exists? All it needs is a little cleanup. Not millions, probably not $100,000. Plant a few more trees. It's got a big wide open area for playing ball, frisbee, the splash pool, great swings, quote, exercise area. We've got a park that's not being used, so we're going to build another one. We've got an area already for some of the stuff that you're trying to put. I know it doesn't have the scenic view, but we already have it. Let's promote the use of that one.
Anyone else? I'll close the public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry. We reopen the public hearing.
Trout. Live on the corner of Speckled Trout and Ben's Bluff, right on the corner there. So our house will be, our main concern obviously is the trailhead that will be coming in from Spanish Fort Estates and the parking issue that could occur as a result of that. We love the park idea. You know, we're on the trail side, so very excited about that. Just do not want people parking in front of our house in order to enter the park. So as some other people mentioned, would be curious as to what you guys plan to do. Will there be no parking, tow-away zone, or any other type of parking enforcement for those of us that live right there? And we also have a neighbor that just purchased the house on the other side of Ben's Bluff. They haven't even moved in yet. But certainly would be curious as to what you guys' plans are for the parking there on that area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would you get that speak? There you go. You got it. You got it, Phyllis. You had it. Press it.
Again?
There you go.
Okay. I'm Phyllis Busby there at the fishing camp on 225. With the amphitheater going in, you're going to mess up a lot of wildlife. You've got the bird sanctuary, a lot of bird sanctuary in there. You have a lot of kayakers that put in and paddle over to the right and paddle all out into the basins. And when you get that noise in there, just like those girls said, it's going to mess the eagles up. The eagles used to be up the creek. When they built that subdivision, they moved down beside me. When they built that subdivision, then they moved across the road on 225. And there's 3 or 4 nests of eagles in there. Plus, you've got red-bellied turtles that are laying in there too, and all. Huh? No, I didn't know about that. Yeah, they lay over in this section over here. And why you've got 100 acres there, why are you going to put everything on 40 acres? You know, I don't understand it. And 2, I want my property line protected, that people don't wander over it. Right now, I try to keep people off of y'all's property, going under the bridge and going over there, and they're coming on my side and think they can park and go over there, and I'm running them off because they shouldn't be on it. And then I'm upset with the kayak ramp because I'm in business and all I do is launch boats and launch kayaks. And there you're gonna put a free ramp right beside me, right in my face, right beside the bridge. When you got all that waterway over that way, if you wanna put a free ramp, kayak ramp, but still, I was made a promise that it wasn't gonna do anything to hurt me. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Phyllis. Anyone else?
So my last question, and I promise I will leave you guys alone. If we've got Five Rivers Delta on the, like right there by the causeway, and then Blakely State Park, just a few miles down from where this is going to be, I mean, why do we need park? Why wouldn't it just be better to leave all of this alone, or maybe just do some trails without all the parking and everything else? Just leave it as wetlands and wildlife, and I mean, there's so many, we've got so many parks within a few mile radius. So that is that's my last thing. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing this time for real unless somebody's gonna come up. All right, public hearing is closed. Discussion from the council?
A lot of stuff. Can we have a minute? I'm gonna look over the list. I took a lot of notes, and we can take just a minute, moment of silence. I'd love to take a minute to think about it before I start responding.
Yeah, I'll start it, and then y'all can kick in when you want to. I took a lot of notes, and yes, traffic issue, that's gonna be a concern. Nothing will be built out there unless AlDOT gives us the capability. I can see turning lanes, widening the road, things like that. We are starting an A-Trip project in April. It's going to bid, which will widen sections of 225 from Oak Ridge to the northernmost entrance of the estates, which will add some turning lanes and things like that up there. So that's a good start. And as this develops, AlDOT's going to require us to do some things, I feel quite certain, such as turning lanes and those kind of things. We all know the real answer is the 4-lane 225, but you got that bridge up there that's going to cause an issue. It's going to be a big cost. So those are issues that we'll work through. The Eagle's Nest, I can assure you, we're not going to come close to touching an Eagle's Nest. I can assure you the feds wouldn't allow it, and we wouldn't allow it ourselves to harm that in any way. Noise factors of amphitheaters. Understand this is a conceptual plan. This is not a final plan. So these thoughts and these conversations we have, and that's good. There's good positive feedback. And maybe amphitheater is not the way to go. This is a conceptual plan to us to start moving. As Mr. Grant alluded, I guess I need to give a little history here. The governor gave us $8.5 million to buy this property. And then she's recently given us $3 million to start building a park for the public. And that's the thought. Now, our thought has always been to keep this, you know, a park that is passive, certainly on the west side, where it's just walking trails, nature trails for educational purposes, class field trips, those kind of things. Artifacts, we did a historical analysis. University of Alabama did that. University of South Alabama's done some additional studies. We will not in any way, in any form, harm any artifacts or anything that's been designated as was a historic site, is something there. That will not happen. As far as that connection road, that is a concern to me too. I'm not sure that road will ever be there. But if there is a connection road, it would certainly be gated. It would certainly, now, there are limitations because as y'all know, I'm not sure our police can write a ticket there because that's not in the city limits at Ben's Bluff and those areas. So those are things we'd have to work through. I'm not sold on that connection road at this point, but if there was one, it would certainly be gated and be no parking allowed there. We will maintain it. You mentioned the container park. Yes, we just took that over. We just awarded a bid at our last meeting to build pickleball courts out there. So we have taken over the pavilion area, the splash pad, the playground area, that exercise area. We are, as I mentioned, building the pickleball courts. We put tables out at the pavilion area. We're putting fans. We're upgrading the playground, the splash pad. So you see those things coming. But understand that's the footprint that has been given to us. We don't own the rest of that property up there. We cannot develop it. That's owned by private individuals. That's not our property. I can't build on their property. So that's our limitations up at the container park. But I agree, that's an opportunity to do something good. The container park with the pickleball and the synergies that will bring will help that container park do better. So I'm looking forward to that. Timeline on this, you know, on the west side, you're probably looking at, I don't know, by the time you get through all the environmentals and everything else you're gonna have to do, you're looking at year, 2 year for anything starts probably up there. Because it's got to go through approval processes through the Planning Commission and a site plan where you can actually have a plan about what's going to be there so the public will have their input. There'll be more public hearings. There'll be all kind of moving things on that. Buffers, I can assure you there'll be plenty of buffers between houses in these nature trails. There'll be natural buffers and perhaps fences in some area if needed be. I really don't picture that as being a necessity there, but that's something that the site plan will tell us what we do. Will we have rangers there? No, we won't have rangers there. We will have city employees. It will not be a 24-hour park. I can assure you it'll be daylight only, and it'll be gated and locked up every night. There won't be people running through there at night at all, unless they're doing it illegally. And Phyllis has always been a great help. Phyllis is already, oh, there you are. She's always been a great help to me. She always lets me know when somebody's up there, and we do appreciate that. Trees, we are not going to cut down any big trees. I can assure you, these are walking trails. We can move trails around trees. We're not going to interfere with those kind of things. Parking, we talked about. Amphitheater, something we should look at. Wildlife, yeah, we always got to be concerned about wildlife. But saving this property because we have acquired it all. If y'all remember right, the county approved that for multifamily, high-rise multifamily, and what a disaster that would have been back there. So by the city getting this property and preserving it the right way, this is a good thing because it could have been a lot worse. I can assure you that. Trails, too many parks. You know, those are state parks. This will be a city park that is 100, not, I wouldn't say 100%, but funded mostly by the state, and thank Governor Ivey for giving us the money to do these things. I think these are all positive things, and we can develop this the right way. We can make sure things are done in the way they're environmentally friendly. I certainly don't want to interfere, Phyllis, with your business, so we may need to have to look at something. We're not here to hurt you. Your family's been here for too long. You've been part of the community. We need to think about what we're doing here. But understand, this is a conceptual plan. It's the first step to start moving things forward. There'll be other public hearings. There'll be more definitive plans coming out, you know, addressing all of these concerns that we've heard out here today. So that's my soapbox. Anybody
I'll
else
just
ready?
add clarification on one thing. When we acquired the land, it was the land north of the container park. It didn't include the container park. It was still going to be run by the container park itself. But the other thing I would make a point to say too is this money was given to us using Go Mesa funds. Like Go Mesa fund was put up for it's the oil and gas revenues that come from the Gulf, but it's really set aside for a preservation thing. And like the mayor said, you know, that could have been high rises. We used some Go Mesa funds to acquire Shell Bank down at the bottom of the hill on the causeway as well. That was almost, and came very, 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 very close to being townhomes and condos. That would have been our front door. So using these Gulf Mesa funds, they are used for preservation and conservation type things. That is what we're doing here, is really trying to preserve as much of the delta as we can. So yeah, like Mike said, I think I'd cry too if we see any of those historic trees come down, certainly moving any birds and things like that. It's just, that's not what this is. But the effort here is to certainly not have it multifamily, but to maintain and preserve it.
I think y'all did good. You covered everything I think I had here. I will say sincerely, I appreciate y'all coming out, and your input is really, really helpful. I'll just be honest, I was kind of excited about the amphitheater thing, and wow, what a cool idea. But maybe it's not as cool of an idea as I thought it was, you know? So this is good. The input is really good. And so thank you for that. Yeah, just appreciate that input, and I guess we need to move careful on that.
Mr. Connor, did I leave something out? Like, you're usually good at catching things I may have left out.
I made a list completely, and the points that I was going to make you made. The biggest one was that I want to make sure you got out there was about what that property was previously approved for as a planned unit development was condominiums, high-density residential. And so out of the gate, the city council's desire was to preserve this for something other than that. So.
We're out of order here, so I can't allow that to keep going. Anything? No, you're fine. I understand your enthusiasm, and I appreciate it, and thank you all for coming. Any other discussion from the council?
Just as far as how we proceed from here, what we're looking at here is the conceptual plan. This is not an actual site plan. I guess we'd have to actually do a site plan.
Correct.
Even if we approve this as is, there'll still be more opportunities for public participation before we stick shovels in the ground or cut down a tree or anything like that. So, is that correct?
Cut down a water oak, a real small one.
Yeah, cut down them nasty magnolias.
Mayor, you might mention too that you mentioned that it's conceptual plan. Things are subject to change depending on how things develop. It's also based on available funding. The funding that you secured so far, and the plan is for the phase one of this, actually to be on the west side, I believe. The east side is something that is conceptual, but it's way further down the road depending on funding.
Yeah, this whole plan, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars, and unless we can secure funding to make that happen, this is a 20-year plan. This is not something that's going to happen in the next 10 years. I just don't see it happening that way. So, unless somebody writes us a check for the whole thing, I can't see that happening. So, any other discussion from the council? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 1480-2025.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Smith?
Yes.
Perry? Yes. Wynn? Yes. Brabner? Yes. Mayor?
Yes, the resolution is adopted.
Mayor, I did think of one more thing that's important for this, if it's okay. one of the other reasons that you all wanted to come up with a conceptual plan, and it is conceptual because it can change over time, is that many of the grants that you apply for want to know you have some type of plan when you apply for the money. So even if this is ultimately not built the same way, when you're making applications for Go Mesa funding or other available funding of the federal or state government, you have at least a document that you can present to say this is kind of what we're considering. And so that was why it was important as well for the city to adopt this.
Thank you, Ms. Conner. It is a valid point because you cannot achieve funding unless you have some type of plan. That's not going to write you a check. So to move anything forward, you got to have something on paper. Okay. Moving to Resolution 1481, 2025, a resolution amending the Spanish Fort Police Department Policy Manual. Mr. Conner.
Mayor, this is a proposed amendment that authorizes the mayor to approve amendments to the Spanish Fort Police Policy Manual, which has been adopted by the City of Spanish Fort as well as the Police Department for the operation of the Police Department in accordance with applicable CALEA standards and standards for the state of Alabama.
I know this is the first reading, but this is an administrative item. We can move forward on this tonight, can we not? Yeah, that's what I thought. Any discussion on the council? Do I have a motion?
Motion to adopt Resolution 1481, 2025.
Second.
Discussion?
Smith,
Yes.
Gustafson. Perry,
Yes.
Radner. Yes. Mayor.
Yes, the resolution is adopted. I'd like to introduce Resolution 1482, 2025, a resolution regarding responsibility for potential cost overruns for an A-Trip 2 grant project. Mr. Conner?
Mayor, this is a proposed resolution that would approve and authorize the city to pay for any cost overruns related to the 2022 A-Trip 2 grant funding project. The project has been, the estimated costs are well within the amount that's been appropriated, but the state of Alabama does require that the city agree to pay the cost in the event there are any overruns. This is for a project to be located on 225 north of Oak Ridge, I believe it is, going forth to County Road 72 or Blakely Way.
No.
Nope.
The
All right.
waterfall of
Spanish Fort Estates, I'm sorry. Spanish Fort Estates entrance to Oak Ridge.
Thank you, Ms. Conner. Discussion from the council?
I think this is, one of the things I would point out was that this was what the mayor was talking about, the turn lanes going in there. It's going to make it a lot easier for the people in Spanish Fort Estates, giving them these turn lane accesses like that. So this was, a resolution that kind of piggybacks on what he discussed earlier.
Any further discussion? Yeah, this is what I spoke of earlier about the widening of the roads, turning lanes, and those kind of things that will help 225. This is the first reading and will be on your March 3rd agenda. I'd like to introduce Resolution 1483, 2025, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Veritran, Inc. for the purchase and installation of a training simulator for the City of Spanish Fort Police Department. Mr. Conner?
Mayor, this is a proposed resolution authorizing the purchase of a simulator from Vertra Inc. For a producer of simulators and software and screens for firearms and small firearms and use of force training for the police department. Vertra has a significant number of patents that authorizes them to retain certain improvements and rights related to this simulator, including the ability to use real-life situations, actual firearms that are used by the police department, as well as the tasers that they actually use in implementation. This technology is patented through this company, and they're the only company that offers this particular type of package with their simulator. And so this resolution would authorize them to, the police department to purchase this equipment and simulations for part of their training.
Thank you, Mr. Conner. Discussion from the council?
Isn't this being paid for by a grant they received?
100% paid for. Correct, Chief? Even better. We like those kind. This will be on your March 3rd agenda. It's being introduced tonight. Any further discussion? Any other business come before the council tonight? Have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.